What if I told you that unlearning is actually one of the most important skills that you can learn today? I know it sounds strange, I know it sounds a bit weird, but unlearning the scripts and processes and habits that we've inherited and do without questioning can actually help us to create the life that we really want to live. Because unlearning isn't about forgetting, it's about remembering who you are, or rather who you were before the world told you to be someone else. So come with me as I discuss more in this video today about how powerful unlearning has become. My name's Damien, and these are my videos about how I'm redesigning my life, how I've gone from the life that I was living to the life that I always wanted to live, and the lessons and life hacks that I've developed along the way. You know, I spent more than 20 years helping brands and executives all around the world to transform their businesses, to transform the way that they lead, and to transform their teams. And then I realized that these systems can actually help people. I saw a world out there full of people who wanted to connect more, who wanted to change and transform the lives that they were living. So now I dedicate myself to helping those people to make that change, to create the lives that they want. So I'm so glad that you're on this adventure with me. I hope you're enjoying the content, and let's get straight into today's video. I studied screenwriting at university. I majored in it. I love scripts, I love film. But I don't love scripts when it comes to our life. And that's how most of us live. We've been handed this script by older generations, the framework for how we're supposed to live. And sure, they can give us stability, they can give us a blueprint, they can give us the framework, the lines, so to speak, the stage direction. They can tell us how to succeed, how to be productive, how to do the things that other people think we should do. But that's exactly the problem. Why do that? Why follow these legacy systems? Because they are legacy systems. These very traditional scripts that we all follow were written 50, 60 years ago, if not more. They've been outdated. The world that we're living in is changing dramatically. And so those scripts, those systems no longer apply. It's a code that was written for a world that no longer exists. So we need to upgrade our script. We need to rewrite it. That's what the first thing we're going to have to do, to unlearn that. It's very easy to follow a framework that's been given to you. I know it is. All the answers seem to be there. So we start on that process. We start following that script. But in reality, the answers aren't there. Post-COVID especially, this world has changed so much. How we interact, how we communicate, even me speaking to you now through a screen. They didn't exist 10, 15 years ago, but they're here now. So we need to rewrite the script. We need to unlearn what we've been told. These scripts that we've inherited may offer us what we think are solutions, but actually what they're doing is locking us in. It's called the paradox of certainty. We crave that stability that's given to us by these scripts. We follow them blindly without question because they have worked in the past. And that could be because they were written for the time in which they were conducted. So we might look back 2 or 3 generations and realize, hey, this worked for you. But what ends up happening is the dreaded autopilot. We get the lines and we recite them like a bad actor. We don't forge our own path. We don't find our own direction. And as I've spoken about in other videos, autopilot leads to complacency. It leads to a lack of presence. It leads to a life that you don't want. So what you actually have to do is start focusing on unlearning those systems. Because I know it's scary. I know it's hard because these scripts and these processes and these frameworks that we've been given are there to help us. That's the intention. They're supposed to provide that guide work, that guideline, those rails for us to work within. But they just don't anymore. But remember, unlearning isn't about forgetting. Unlearning isn't negative. This isn't about throwing things out. You could learn from those scripts. You can look back and see why they are the way they are, and then forge your own identity. Because unlearning is about remembering who you were before someone told you what you should be doing, before someone told you who you should be. You want to get back to that part, to take that essence, that true essence of who you are, and start building from there. That's what I want to help you to do today, to start building out that life that you want. I used to love the rewriting process when I was studying screenwriting. I saw it as an opportunity to mold and shape, and I actually preferred it more than the writing process, putting the words down initially, because it was this shaping, this getting little bits of ideas and bringing them together and crafting something new and seeing what worked and what didn't work and chopping and changing. That sort of alchemy was what I really loved about screenwriting. That was the part of screenwriting I was really drawn to. And that's actually the most interesting way for you to approach this new life, writing your new script, is to go back, look at what you've been doing so far, take what worked, throw out what didn't, look at other models, other frameworks, do research, read, listen, speak, watch videos like this, get some new perspective and start writing out a new script that's specific to you. Because if you don't, if you continue to just go down this path, your brain just loses that elasticity. It loses that ability to sort of shift and change and to get that new perspective. And you'll find it harder and harder to change the further and further you get attached to that script. One of the easiest ways I can think of, an analogy to make this really obvious, is a software update. I'm sure you get alerts on your phone and on your computer all the time about when it's ready for a new update. There's a new operating system out and you've got to update your hardware. You got to download the new operating system. Think of it like what you're doing for your life. You're upgrading your operating system by rewriting this script. So don't just hit the remind me later button on your software update. Embrace it. Use this as an opportunity to upgrade what you do, to create that new story, write that new script, take elements that work, think about them, and actually start to craft this new life. Because no matter how you look at it, the repetition that you get into if you stick to the old script, that autopilot life, that doing the same thing over and over and over, no matter how comfortable that is, it's not growth. It's not going to take you to where you need to be. So you need to focus and slow down and start being active. Become an active author rewriting your script. If you're looking for a really inspiring example of a generation who is actively having to rewrite their script, look no further than Gen Z. And if you're a member of the Gen Z generation, then I applaud you. You're so incredibly brave. Now, the reason why I highlight this generation in particular and why I love working with Gen Z is because they've come out of COVID. They come of age during lockdowns when the world changed so dramatically. And they've come out into a world and they're the first generation to really hit this new world without a script. Those early formative years are so different now. Older generations perhaps have a little bit more flexibility. They've got a bit more experience. They've got more time spent before this great disruption. So while they're being impacted as well, the impact on Gen Z is dramatic. So I see the changes. They're having to be forced into rewriting their script. And I see it every day when I talk to them and I work with them, mentoring them and helping them to shape their lives. This generation has been incredibly brave. I'm in awe of them. So take a leaf from their book. They ask a lot of questions. They explore, they're open. They're eager to learn, eager to develop, eager to reach out and connect. These are all amazing ways that you can start rewriting your script. You can start shaping a brave future for yourself. So if you need any inspiration, that's where I'd start looking. It's truly a remarkable story. And I think as we reflect back on it in 5 or 10 years' time and see how this generation has grown up and really taken charge, I think it's going to be incredibly inspiring. Okay, now I want to move into a portion of the video where I talk you through some active steps that I use as part of my Future Self Lab to work with leaders and innovators and founders who want to start rewriting their script. They want to change their story. This is how I recommend you begin. It's not the only way to begin. Like I said before, you need to rewrite the story that fits with you and that you feel connects deeply with what you want to achieve. But here are some ideas, and I'm hoping that they're helpful to you. The first thing I want you to do is to question the inherited script. Look about what rules you're following. Ask why. Look at your career, your relationships, the expectations of others. Write down, who taught me this? Who gave me this information? Why? If you can, this is actually a really interesting process. It's very reflective and it can take a bit of time, but it's worth it. Look at where they've come from. Look at the experience of those people, those systems, those books, wherever you got that information from. Look where it came from and start to ask active questions. You might be able to find some patterns into why you take certain bits of information or certain bits of advice to heart and why you have made them part of your script up until this point. And then you might find others that aren't as useful and haven't been helping you. So it can quickly help you to identify the areas you might want to chop and change as you start this rewrite. And the second thing is notice your default settings. Your first reaction is often based on your past. It's your conditioning. So when you're thinking about how you react to a certain circumstance or a conversation perhaps, your instant reaction is often based on that script. But if you can learn to slow down, and I've got information on this in other videos, if you can learn to slow down, then that second reaction, more often than not, is based on what you want to create, the world that you want to craft. So practice inserting those moments of pause. Don't be so quick to react, because that's often going to be following the script. Take the pause, have a think, look at where this new journey could take you. How would the new script version of you react to this situation? And try exploring that. Try following those paths, even if they feel uncomfortable, and they will initially. Try following those. The third thing I want you to look at is called release through replacement. Don't just fight the old patterns. Don't just dismiss them. They can work. They can provide a starting point. Replace them with new mental pathways. Shift energetically. Be active in your movement. Change it. Don't just cut it. You need something to build upon. You need to mold and reshape, not just cut. So keep that in mind. It's not about just completely taking away. This unlearning process that you're going through is about stripping back, seeing why it worked or why it didn't work, and then rebuilding it back up like a mechanic fixing a machine. Take it apart, look at the pieces, put it back together in a way that makes it perform even better than it did before. The next thing I want you to look at is building new micro rituals. I spoke in another video about how important rituals are in grounding you, in centering you, in helping you come back to yourself, especially when you're starting to drift, especially when you're starting to get back into those old habits and autopilot living, and this lack of presence is starting to make following your new script more difficult. You need to find these structures, these rituals that can allow you to hold strong to your new code, to your new operating system. And these rituals of return can really help you to do that. I'll leave a link in the description below to the video I did about some of those rituals of return. Just taking small moments to pause, to meditate, to reflect, to notice, to feel can help you center and then stay true to your new journey, stay true to your new script. And then you want to look at surrounding yourself with improvisers. Surround yourself with people who are going to challenge you, people who are going to question. Or even if you can't find actual people, books, articles, videos, things that are going to continually question and challenge you on this path. Because if you're just in your echo chamber, or you're actually just talking to people who are following the script you used to follow, it's going to be really hard to follow this new pathway. So draw inspiration. As I've said often, this isn't a lonely process because it feels like you're forging a new path, but so many other people are on this journey to redesign their life. You'd be surprised about just how many people there are who want to build a new life in this crazy world. Find them, talk to them, reach out, connect, send me a message. You'll find that by interacting with people, by doing that, by finding those small moments to have conversation, to get that sort of celebration, that push to keep driving, you'll be able to continue when it gets hard. Remind yourself as to why you're doing this and see some examples of some people who may be a little bit further along in their journey and what they're doing and what they've been able to achieve in their new lives. So reach out and ask some people. Whatever way you look at it, the concept of unlearning is not destructive. It's not forgetting. It's finding new ways to go against those systems and processes and learnings of your past. The things that got you to where you are today aren't necessarily going to be the things that get you to where you need to go tomorrow. You need to remember that. And it's through unlearning that we can strip away, remold, reshape, and rewrite that script. We can take ourselves from where we are to where we want to be. It's a really amazing process, this unlearning process. And it's the new education. So think about that. Unlearn yourself. Unlearn yourself today and build a new path tomorrow. Write that new script. And I can't wait to watch the resultant movie that is your life. Thank you for joining me this week. I hope to see you again soon.